because it's just me. So we can't have a meeting, but I do want to run through the agenda and give anyone the opportunity to discuss whatever they'd like to discuss along this. And I'd like to hear what, I want to keep everything moving as much as we can, although it is very limited. We cannot move things forward officially. We cannot vote on anything, but we're going to go through it quickly.
Mr. Vaccaro, Bernie Flynn.
Hi, Bernie.
As
You're
my
not
president,
technically here.
Then guess what? Bernie Flynn is signing off. Bye. I just left the meeting.
So Mr. Flynn is on the phone, but he is not here. Therefore, we cannot include him as a voting member of council tonight. And Ms. Dorsey is away, so we cannot include her as a voting member of council tonight. So we can only go through this as discussion points. There are some things that are pretty important. We have the monthly garage management report. We have the director's report, and we have the lease for lot 10. I think we should keep these things going as much as we can. I will not be here next week, but anything that needs to be shared on those three?
Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Steve is not here tonight. He actually had a family issue, and I did warn him there was no quorum. So the budget did look for the garages favorable for transient parking, which is good. I did ask for them to resubmit the short report with expenses listed so that we can see what the actual transfer of revenue should be estimated at, so that council's more aware of the real picture of deposits. So that should be revised, and hopefully I can get that before the work session.
Thank you.
So that's the garage management. The director report, nothing too major, but I do have one good announcement. Monica Campbell, who's over there diligently reading, has been promoted from clerk to assistant to the director of parking services. She has been here almost 17 years, and if I'm not texting somebody on council about parking, I'm usually up at midnight texting her about how to fix parking in the borough. So I don't think anyone is better suited for this position, and she really does care about the borough here. So thank you, Monica. We are going to get pressure washing done. This is an annual event at both garages. Clean County came in with a total for both garages of $23,325. I did look at the three quotes that were submitted. This was the lowest. So that'll take place hopefully this month. We are going to extend the timeline for the RFP because we're working with IT, finance, public works to focus on a different management system moving forward. So one of the action items is to, which will, I guess, go to work session, will be to extend the in-park garage management contract for just 2 months to get it to the end of October because of the turnaround. We have two leases. We had two leases with the county for, one was for Chestnut Street Garage and the other is for Gay Street lot, which was lot 6 at the point of Hannum, Gay Street, New Street. I spoke with George, who handles the facilities right now. He's, I think, interim facilities director, and they were comfortable with not renewing the Chestnut Street Garage lease because technically they can utilize spaces as a, you know, as we're trying to get everybody to do. So they're going to just monitor and use spaces at Chestnut Street as they need. So they can fluctuate, but they'll pay market rate as they should be and have been, I believe. So they're going to just take over their accounting. So we'll no longer have a lease for Chestnut Street Garage. We will review the Gay Street lease in August. So that'll be nice. And then just a reminder, I tried to really cast a wide net this year, but there is a lot 3, the New Street lottery. The applications are due tomorrow by 4 o'clock, I think. We only need your application returned. This is a $900 a year parking space typically the same, I think it's 13 spaces. The same people use it every year, but I know it's open to anyone. You don't have to be a resident here. So it's really helpful for those local businesses that need a parking space closer to this side of town. So if you're listening, please get that in because we will draw those spots first thing on the 11th. And I do think we had better feedback this year because we did publicize it a little better.
Can I ask if you have reached out to John O'Brien about that?
I did not.
Just
I don't think I did.
in the future,
Yeah.
I think that I'm going
Can push it through.
to try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do just glom onto him when he's here, but I can't remember if I shouted that at him as he walked past me. Okay. Revenue for the month, we had $91,940 in ticket revenue, $7,602 in posting revenue. Lease revenue was $21.90. Meter revenue was $138,731, and permit revenue was up to $1,876. We did not boot for the month of June. There was a lot going on, and we were down a few officers, which is why there's kind of a decrease in some of the revenue as well. So the monthly total was $242,339.63. Hopefully, we'll be fully staffed next month, this month. So that's the director's report.
All right. Any notification about the ordinances on Adams Street?
Did you want to do the lot 10 really quick?
Yes.
Okay. I did tell Adam Lowe that we would likely discuss this at work session, so to be available for that. In the attachments that were included online, there was a memorandum from Kristen Camp discussing lot 10, and that, you know, it was not tied to a land development agreement. I also included the meeting minutes that I found that I think were being referenced at the last meeting. While it does say approve leasing 53 parking spaces on lot 10 with right of first refusal, you know, this is, it's not tied to land development. So it would be the same as all of these other leases. So I still stand by my nice request that we consider moving them to Chestnut Street Garage, and they can use that as needed. And if he does provide the leases showing that his tenants have those 3 spaces, you know, at Chestnut or at lot 10, that we allow him, same as Cheston House, to finish that out. But we should really, if we can, take those signs down. I know, you know, I just hear all the time people come into town on the weekend and people people don't know that you can park in those spaces, and it's really just a shame. So I'm going to continue saying that. I'll say that again at the work session.
Keep saying that. Say it next week.
Yeah. Do we have final land development approval for Wyeth?
Yes.
Okay. So that means that I think now would be a great time to work on some sort of brochure or pamphlet, something to put on all of the cars that are parking in that area to help them figure out where to park. I don't know. I don't have great answers. I know we have garages, but I you know, we'll work on the notification and warning process. And we can do that and discuss again in August, but we'll have some feedback as to how many people we've notified.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
The handicap spaces.
So we had a really good response to this. I think, so the deadline for responding to the signs passed. We took all of that information, compiled it. We did, I said we put it electronically. So for the signs that were not responded to, we did mail a letter to the address that we believe to be associated with that sign. So we're going to wait a little bit longer to hear from them. But I think Monica said there might have been 25 letters sent out. So that's a pretty good response rate for what we heard back from. I know there were, you know, in hindsight, we can always do this better. I know we panicked a lot of people at some of the public places, but it was valuable information. One of the churches on Minor in Franklin, I believe, they asked if they could reduce their handicap spaces by 1. So that was helpful. you know, and then Mary Taylor House, they were worried we were going to take it down and thought that we wanted everyone to register. So that was, you know, just a lack of proper communication. But most of the public spaces are staying. One of the churches did ask for an extra, so that'll be something we'll have to discuss. The other thing that we need to consider, our ordinance, when we rewrite it and modify the spaces in there, we should list the requirements for the handicap spaces. But one of the consistent questions that came up, which typically our policy has been, if you are a resident and you own a car and have a handicap placard, we'll give you a space. If you don't have a car, you're not, it's not available to you. But I would say that we should reconsider that position as long as both the caregiver, the primary caregiver, and the person with the placard live in the same home. We had a lot of those situations where a father took care of his son, or two brothers lived together. And, you know, I think about just, you know, getting my kids out of with the groceries on West Bernard. And I wouldn't imagine dropping off somebody you're taking care of and being like, well, I'll be back after I find a parking space. So I think that would be an accommodation that we should make when we rewrite the ordinance. The other consideration, some municipalities don't allow for handicap parking spaces if the residents have off-street parking. I don't know if we want to go that route. I mean, really, I know we have people that abuse the system, but I really want to just believe that this, you know, if you're applying for this and you have the qualifications, I think that at this point we should allow it and hope that our electronic monitoring system will weed out the spaces as they're no longer needed. So those would be my recommendations, to include the allowances of that when we do the handicap update.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay. The mobile parking app.
Yes. So I learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot about processing fees this month in the borough. And one of the, originally I was going to come and say, I think we should go with Park Mobile. I really do like their app a lot. And, but in reviewing everything and understanding the processing fees for credit card processing, my recommendation is going to be that we continue with Flowbird. They do have a good app, and their company was actually bought by Park Mobile's company. So there will be, I think, you know, similarities sooner than later. It will, but it will give us the opportunity to choose our own credit card processor, and that will give us the freedom to keep costs, I think, at a reduced rate. If we give it to another company, we have no control over what the service fees are for the app. And I don't want to outprice anyone for parking here. You know, I already know we're making a lot of changes. It seems it's fully functional, same as Park Mobile, and it would bring our internal systems down to one, which would also be nice. So that's so as much as I thought I was going to say Park Mobile, I think after discussion internally, we're going to recommend Flowbird, and they would also give us a 5% discount on the kiosks if we stick with that app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for the action items, is there, like, I will go through them. I don't think we can actually do anything here, but approve Flowbird for the app. Talked about that. Approve a 2-month extension for the Park garage management ending.
Right.
This is a weird meeting. It's a discussion. Motion to direct solicitor to draft amendment to add lot 6 and 7. You can talk to them next week about that. And then I can't approve anything. So thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody out there want to say anything about parking while we're here? Okay. Thank you. Then this discussion is over.